Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Style Speaks. I have a very special guest with me today. Actually, she's a celebrity, so don't get it twisted. And she's laughing over it, but she knows it. The world renowned. But Miss, let me get this right. Miss DC, former DC, USA, Miss Porscha Lee, United States, Porscha Lee Taylor. How you doing? All right, it's so good to see you. All right. And you know, and I probably should have rehearsed that part at the beginning because I think the first time I posted, she was like, okay, no, Ronald, it's Miss DC, USA. I think I had Miss District of Columbia. I'm like, do you say District of Columbia? Do you say DC? But I'm sure you get that all the time, right?
Yeah. The thing a lot of people don't know is there's multiple systems within pageantry. Okay. So there's the Miss USA system, Miss United States system, Miss America.
It's confusing.
So it can be a bit confusing, but they all serve a different purpose.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into that purpose in a minute. Well, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm originally from North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Country girl.
Yes, down to the root. I love Southern hospitality. That's my thing. And I moved to DC actually 3 years ago. So since being here, it's been amazing. Of course, being crowned Miss DC, it's just been like a 10-year journey.
Right.
So it's been great.
Has it been?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
10 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know. I did a little bit of my homework, but I didn't realize that you've only been in this area for that short a time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting how you kind of transition to that role. But I'm really curious to find out what we're going to talk about the whole Miss USA DC and all that good stuff. I can't even get it right, but and the whole transition into and how you got into pageantry. But I'm really curious to find out what kind of kid you were. You know, were you that girl? Were you that pussy girl? It was like, oh, you're so pretty. You should do pageants. And were you that girl? Was that mommy? Or how did you come across that whole thing?
Now, I wish the story was written that way because it would sound so beautiful.
Okay.
But actually, I was a tomboy.
Wow.
I was the kid that, my hair was always in a ponytail. I have a twin brother.
Oh, wow.
So we
twins here.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So we loved play fighting, going outside to the park. I rode bikes, played games. So I was just one of those girls that was just not really in her girly girl
Oh,
element.
okay. So you weren't a girly girl.
Oh, no, not at all.
Wow.
My sisters were concerned about me. They were like, you're such a tomboy.
That's another show.
No.
That's a whole
No. They were like, oh my gosh, when you ever become girly? Because my mom was girly, my grandmother, everyone just had this, level about them of poise and grace that I just didn't see coming at that age. So the older I got, I think my sisters probably had a conversation and was like, we're gonna take her under our wing.
Okay.
And so one summer I actually went to New Orleans and I stayed with my oldest sister and she completely transformed me. And that's when things started. My sister bought me my first makeup kit for Christmas and she was like, you're gonna learn how to do makeup.
Wow.
I was like,
and how old were you then by this time?
Oh my gosh, probably around like 13, 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Preteen.
So preteen. They weren't moving too fast, which was good. So they kind of walked me through because I will hold this and be like, what is this? They're like, that's mascara. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But I enjoy the process. I think it's good for a young girl to be able to enjoy all different facets of her life and not just be so prim and proper because that's going to come when it's supposed to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's interesting to learn. I mean, to get to this position and having a role like that, you would just assume. And I'm sure people make all types of perceptions and just assume that you were this type of girl. You went through the whole pageant thing when you were a kid, and you had a momager and your
like
mom
the tiaras and toddlers and stuff.
Yeah, you just think that that's how they all get to that role, but obviously that's not the case.
Oh no, I've met young women from all walks of life to the point that now they are doctors and lawyers and they work for the government, army. It's amazing to know that everyone didn't come from a cookie cutter background in pageantry, but they use this as a way to be able to mold them into the woman that they want to become today.
Got you. Wonderful. Well, who introduced you to pageants? I mean, obviously the makeup and all that kind of worked, and the girly girl, you transitioned beautifully to actually want to pursue that.
It's funny, it actually was not a particular person. I used to watch pageants on TV, and I remember watching this movie, and I was just like, I wonder what it would be like, Miss Congeniality. And I was like,
With Sandra Bullock?
Yes. And so I said, I don't know what I know. She was just like kicking, telling that. So it was great to just be able to see the different element of pageantry. And of course, when you watch it on TV, all you see is the swimsuits, you see the gowns, and you see the smiles. What you don't see is the behind the scenes. And I think that was the part for me that made me fall in love with pageantry. And I remember I called my grandmother before I decided to do anything. I said, Grandma, I think I want to do pageants. I don't really know if she knew exactly what all it entailed. But she said, baby, if you want to do it, then go ahead and do it. I said, okay. She said, I think you can do it. And so I don't know, but it was just having her voice telling me that little ounce of belief in something I never thought I could even do, just kind of was like, you know what, let's just go for it. And it was a great experience.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, you know, that process though, I guess you had to make the right phone calls and call the right people and, you know, write the right people and say, okay, how do I do this? But, you know, for me, and I think a lot of people, and I wanted to touch on this briefly, about what that is supposed to look like for a young woman. You're a beautiful chocolate woman, and I'm getting ready to go there, you know, with the whole complexion piece. So did you, and you can be as honest as you want to be, did you have, and well, obviously you thought you would be successful, because I don't think that anybody pursues something just to be, you know, third runner up or whatever. You want to go for the gusto. But being a brown-skinned woman, where a lot of, when you look at pageants from my perception, perspective, when I've looked at beauty pageant shows, Miss America, Miss Universe, whatever, a lot of the African Americans or the women that were representing DC or other places, they may have been more light complected. You know what I'm saying? That whole light skin, brown skin thing. So the light skinned girls are, you know, prettier than the brown skinned girls. And are they gonna, you know, receive a brown skinned girl in this role as, you know, a beauty queen, as opposed to what's your whole thought process on that? And did you have some insecurities about that going in?
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning, I don't think I did, because I was just so young and just enjoying the moment. The first pageant I competed in, over 100 girls competed, and I placed top 10 and top 20. Never thought that would happen to me. So I think at that present time, I wasn't thinking so much about color. I was just thinking like, I'm just here to have fun, which is what pageants are supposed to be about. But I think the older that you get, you notice that in some things there's politics. And so I think that was one of the things that I noticed when I would do my research and I would look at past winners that were of color, brown skin, beautiful women. They had to compete multiple times as opposed to their counterparts to be able to wear that same crown and sash. And I think that's when it hit me that we have to work a little bit harder at something that we want, and we have to be more consistent. You mean darker skinned women as opposed to lighter skinned? Exactly. And when I say lighter skin, I'm not talking about just as in African American women, but just, you know, white as well. Exactly. And so when I competed in North Carolina USA pageant back in 2014, I think that's when it hit me. I was like, I walked in and I knew I wasn't going to win. And that was the scary part for me, because I came to the reality of knowing that their level of what they consider to be beauty is what they see on TV. USA, and this goes for multiple pageant systems, they have something that they're looking for. The modelettes, they're looking for the tall and those type of things. I'm glad now that pageants are starting to look at beauty in a different perception, but before it was tall, it was lean, it was light, it was thin hair, it was all of that. That's what beauty was being perceived as. But I'm glad that there were still women out there that did not see that as a deterrent, that they still decided to go for that. So 2 years ago, I actually met Wendy Fitzgerald. She is 1998 Miss Universe, just as brown skin as me. Beautiful. Today, you wouldn't even think that she's the age that she is, but being able to see her stand up there right beside Miss Venezuela and win that competition was like, anyone can do this. All of us can do this. And it was just great to be able to see a brown-skinned woman in that element. So for me, when I competed in that pageant, I noticed that once they called top 10, only 2 black girls were in that top 10. And usually when you watch these pageants, especially on TV, when they're calling a top 15 or a top 10, you don't really see a lot that look like me make it to the last round. And so I think it was just more about what is it that we bring to the table. And I think now that's being highlighted more, that it's deeper than skin. You have women that are out here changing people's lives, like literally changing policies in this world. And so I think that's what we had to bring to the forefront, that we had a lot more to value, and it wasn't just our skin color. And so that's why I enjoy it now. Because we're all on an even playing field. It's just about your mindset. Once you change that, you kind of take that out of the picture and you're like, you know what, I'm here just like everybody else. I work just as hard, I put just as much commitment into this, and I'm just as worthy of the same title as anyone else.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm floored by that response. That's deep, that's deep. Well, that's amazing. I mean, it has to take some level of security within yourself, obviously, to even pursue it, period. Much less have to compete with skin tones, white, whatever the case may be. So I've always felt, I always thought that was very much an interesting conversation to have with somebody like you.
I mean, standing on stage in a two-piece swimsuit is not easy.
It's not, okay, no matter what shade y'all.
Or size.
Or size. Well, so
it takes some confidence to do that.
I haven't said I've experienced that yet. But, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Anyway, my videographer over there shaking her head. It's like, okay, Ronald, keep it moving.
Keep it going.
Well, that's amazing. I'm still gasping in that whole response there. But what have you, since you've given up your crown this past year, right? Earlier this year, what do you say has been the biggest changes for you? And what, I guess, other than giving up the crown, what else did you have to give up? And I'm sure you gained a whole lot too.
Oh, wow, that's a really great question. Let's see. I think when you get serious in something, any avenue that you take, you realize that there's some things you have to sacrifice, right? And so I think when it came to being in pageantry, especially the last few years, I had to hone more in on my goals as opposed to my distractions. And I think as a female, especially when you're in pageantry, you look at the other girls' headshots, you look at the things that they're doing, and you start losing focus of what you're supposed to be focused on. And in pageants, they always tell you, be you. But a lot of girls don't understand what that actually means. And so I think over time I've had to learn to develop, who am I and why am I here? Why do I want to stand on stage and be the last female there that's being crowned and sashed, and then have an entire year to be able to express what's passionate about me and what I want to be able to influence among other people. And so it's like, once I started noticing like that's what I wanted to go after, I kind of set the pageant part aside and I started focusing more on what am I doing in the community. I don't have to have a crown and a sash to make an influence. And I think once I noticed that part was when things started to change. I became the ambassador to Congresswoman Norton. I was the all-time ambassador to her. I was able to raise $3.1 million for the Alzheimer's Association last year for research. My grandmother actually passed away with dementia.
Me too.
And sorry to hear that. And ever since then, it was like, we have to figure out why this is the issue. And so as a brown-skinned girl, to kind of bring it back full circle, once I started doing research about Alzheimer's and dementia, I realized that African Americans are twice as likely to have this disease, especially if they have diabetes, which is very prevalent in African Americans, and women are twice as likely to have this disease as well. And so when I realized that, it was like, wait a second, I need to look at this differently, not just being the only brown-skinned girl that makes the top 10 or top 5, but I need to really talk about the statistics here. Who am I going to be able to help in my culture and my background that can really look at me and say, she's making a difference. She's not just standing up here and waving and exactly, but there are plenty of girls that are like that. One thing I learned about pageants is every girl does it for a different purpose. The same thing about going to school or getting a certain job, everyone does it for a different purpose. And for me, once I found out what my purpose was, to really be able to highlight this cause and really be able to let people know that this is a disease that affects over 50 million people. And there's something that we can do about it, but we have to act now. And so once I started doing that as a leader in my community, as a leader within the DC area, things began to open up. And then once it became time for me to get on that stage, I was more confident than ever because I realized that I have done everything that I could possibly do. When it comes to sacrifice, of course, there's no going out, you can't really, do a lot of the fun stuff like that. But when you have a higher...
You turn it up like that, picture. Yeah. No, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, I'll tell you this. One thing I learned is that if you want to be in a certain element, you kind of have to act like you're already there.
Yes.
So when you're out,
it's like that job you're applying
for. If you want to be a president, you have to start being in that presidential mindset. And so that was one of the things that I realized, the way that I would introduce myself to people, the way that I would, just everything about my life, it was like, let's get it to a place that it's a lot more easier, where when people come to you, they can just see the glow on you, that you can speak positivity in their life, and it's not fake.
Wonderful.
You know what I mean? I'm not here just because this looks pretty.
Right.
I'm here because this is a purpose of mine that I've always wanted to achieve.
Right.
And 10 years is a long time to have a dream and to not give up after being told repeatedly, you're good, but you're not great enough, basically, in a sense.
Okay.
And so I took that myself as there means that's something else I need to learn. There's something else that I need to chisel out from this huge, beautiful stone in order to make it into the masterpiece that I want to become someday. And so I feel like that's what pageantry has allowed me to do, is chisel out that block into who I am today, and for people to look at that statue and say, wow, she has a story to tell.
And do you?
I do.
You need your own radio show, bro. You need to kick Angela Stripling off in WHUR, although she does that late night. I'm not just an Angela Stripling because I love you. I love to talk to you one day. But she does that late night. You listen to her show?
I don't, but I should.
WHUR, she has a late night, like 1 a.m., and it's called Pillow Talk.
Actually, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
She's got this very sexy, soulful voice. I can see you kicking out there. But anyway, that's beautiful. That's amazing. Well, listen, let's parlay that and transition to what's going on with you now. You talked a little bit about a lot of the projects and things that you're passionate about, and that's really cool to hear.
Thank you.
And but you got some other things you want to tell us about too that you're working on. So let's get into that.
Absolutely.
All right.
So I decided to start a business 2 years ago. And I originally started the business because, of course, I wanted to be able to give back to the community. And being a person that has came from a background of being homeless before, and really being able to see my mother as a single parent struggle going from job to job, I wanted to be able to make a difference. And so when I moved to DC, I actually got a job as a recruiter helping people find jobs.
Oh, okay.
And when I would sit down with these people, I would hear so many different walks of life that they've been through. And when I was able to help them get a job or the career, and I would just see the way that they would elevate, it did something for me. And so I decided to start my own company doing that, helping people find jobs, but I wanted to more so help our people find jobs, because I realize that that's a huge epidemic right now, us being able to find jobs and how we actually go about doing that. I wanted to make sure that their resumes were on point, that they actually knew about interviewing, how to dress for an interview, just being more cognizant of all those different areas, because there really is no minority or I don't believe that personally. And so I feel like we all have an even level playing field, that we can all achieve our goals. It's just about how we position and we present ourselves. And that's why I started Say Yes. Our motto, or my motto, is say yes to your dreams, say yes to you. But I believe that you first have to say yes to yourself first. Saying yes that I'm gonna make this happen. This is my dream, and I'm the one that's in control of that. The people that I interact with, I wanna make sure that they are gonna be on that level where I can continuously keep going up. And so that's why I love doing that. And outside of that, I work with small businesses that are looking to really be able to elevate their brand so that one day they can become large enough to have employees like the ones that I'm talking to and be able to grow their business and live their dream as well. So I'm all about giving back, giving that service to them, where if someone else is like, I kind of want to share some ideas, but you're going to have to pay me first. I'm more like, this is a blessing that I'm able to have this knowledge and to be able to share it with you and give some type of impact to your life. And so I love that part. And then last year, I decided to create a planner. So yeah, I love planners.
Let's bring that on out here.
I created a planner. I love planners. I've always had one since college. My background is journalism and PR. So when you have to plan everything to the T, you have to have a book that you can be able to have that in. And so last year I said, I want to create my own. I wasn't creating it to sell. I just wanted to create one for myself, one that was undated. So if January rolled around and I was procrastinating, I didn't have to go out and buy a book that I couldn't use the first month of. I wanted to be able to just have everything in one place that I could possibly think of, from vision board to tracking your water intake, because I've learned all those things through pageant, making sure you're taking your vitamins, working out. Sometimes we think that when we make certain routines, we stick with them, but when you write it on paper, when you can see it visually in front of your face, it's almost like a mirror reflection telling you, I need you to stay committed to what you want to do.
I so get that.
And back then I had multiple coaches, and so I think that's what this book is. It's a 24-hour coach that is going to help you get through every facet of your life. And so I created, it's called the Say Yes Career Planner.
Okay.
And what I love about it is that I've been able to put things in here that allows you to combine your personal and your professional life in one place. Okay. Being Miss DC, 4 or 5 events a day, you saw me, fashion show to fashion show and those things. It was a little bit. Yes, it was exhausting a little bit, but I think if I had a book that I could be a little bit more detailed and organized in, I think it would have alleviated some stress of that. And so I decided to come up with the planner. I would love to. So in here, it really goes through a lot of great detail. It's a 4-year planner, so you can start it at any time throughout the year. And it goes through a rediscovery roadmap. And I created this roadmap myself through all the things that I've been through and trying to figure out, how do you help yourself start achieving goals? I believe that in order to get to your big dream, there are small goals that you have to hit getting there. You just don't look at the big dream and say, oh, I just want to reach there, and not think about the way of getting there. And so this goes through allowing you to be able to uncover yourself. How do you clarify your goals? There's been times where I wanted something to happen, but when I wrote it on paper, I realized I actually don't want that to happen tomorrow. I want that to happen maybe 4 or 5 years from now. And so when you realize that and you see it, you kind of take away some of that stress of, let me focus on what I want to do right now to make that happen. Determining your focus, knowing what your vision is. I'm a huge advocate of vision boards. I believe that when you can see the image that clear, you know what you're working towards. You don't have to worry about, if I want a Porsche one day, you gotta be a Porsche driving a Porsche, right?
Okay. Kind of works for me.
Right, so you probably won't be so anxious to go buy that, Honda or whatnot if you know that's your dream. And that's something materialistic, but that's just scraping the surface. So it allows you to be able to uncover your goals, whether it's personal, it's spiritual, it's career, all of that. It goes through every single area of that, and understanding why you want it. I think sometimes we always say, well, what do I want? And then when do I want it? But we never ask ourselves, well, why do I really want this to happen? When you started doing your interviews, you had to ask yourself, well, what is it that I want from the people that I'm speaking to? I'm sure you have a very specific target audience that you go to, because you know your why and your purpose of what you're trying to convey to your audience. And so it kind of goes through all of that. And you can see here it has very inspirational quotes at the bottom, like it'll tell you, take time to self-reflect. I love little things like that. And all the things that are in here are little quotes and little phrases were things that people actually told me over the years. I've actually interviewed, oh my gosh, maybe 50 plus people. And I've asked them, give me advice. And so the things that are in this planner are advice that I've received from people that have worked for corporate Sam's Club and Walmart executives and CEOs that have just told me small things to remember as I get older. And this is the part that I love about this planner, because when you're on the go, sometimes your phone is dying. I hate having a dead phone.
Mine's getting charged right now. Yes, Lord. Yes.
And so this actually allows you to charge your Android and your iPhone or your iPad simultaneously at the same time.
Cool, man.
And you charge it right here with this cord. You just pop one of your little boxes that you have right into here. But this charges it that way. Yeah, and if you want to see how much charge you have, you just hit here and it'll let you know how many green dots are here. This fully charged can charge one phone up to 4 times before it would need to be recharged.
Wow.
And it's magnetic, so you can actually take this out. You can throw this in your bag on the weekends when you don't need your book, and you can have this with you. But I love this because if I'm running around the house like I used to for those events and my phone is on 5%, I'm not stressed. Because when I go out the house, I take this with me, my phone is completely charged. And this little baby here is a 32 gigabyte USB flash drive. So you pop that into your computer, save your work, and then you go.
I'll take 2.
I just made a sale. But this is the Say Yes Career Planner.
Wonderful. That is so neat.
Yeah, so it's getting ready to go to market. Yeah, it up. It's a lightweight, very soft leather touch. Yes,
you gotta buy your own pen. Does it come with a pen?
I'm actually putting together a pen for it and everything else. So I'm super excited.
This is a very nice.
Thank you.
And, well, you have to tell everybody before we close. We have to tell everybody how we can get one and how we can reach you and say and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Porscha Lee Taylor, and you can follow me on any of my social media accounts at Porscha Lee Taylor. That's Porscha. And you can also find me at Miss DC US. For the career planner, is at Say Yes Career. You can find information about it. Right now, I'm actually giving away free inserts of the planner. So if you go to my website, sayyescareer.com, you can actually sign up there and it will automatically send you a copy of the inside of the book. So if you want to print it out and actually explore what the content of the book is and start planning right away, this gives you an opportunity to be able to do that.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
You're a delight. Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
This is great.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this has been another edition of Style Speaks. Until the next time, thank you, Miss Porscha Lee Taylor.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
My gorgeous.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again.